But, you know, learning to invest in real estate is one thing. How did you go about actually making this investment though? Because that's not a cheap investment. $317,000 purchase price with 5% down and about 2% closing costs. That's not cheap. How
No.
did you get the money?
So this is something that I think is important to keep in mind. They say a concept they have in investing, they talk about the whole point is to kind of replace your earned income with passive income.
Mhm.
Or I think I messed up a little bit is not having a whole lot of earned income to start with, because
Okay.
then you might be relying on your new passive income too much. But so the way I got it was I unfortunately had a family member pass away,
Mhm.
and I had some inheritance from them, and my family had invested it for me and my siblings, and it was just kind of, and so as these ideas about investing came up, I thought that I knew how to make that money work better than it was in the stock market. So that's how I paid for it. But if you're wondering how you can do it, there are lots of down payment assistance programs and everything that I'd highly recommend. If you find a good deal, there are ways to find people who will help you. You can talk to people who've already done it, and try to get a mentor, and they might help you out, partner with you maybe if you find a good deal. But yeah, I think it's important to get your earned income first.
So, given all of the experience that you've had thus far with this first investment property of yours, do you think you're going to continue to invest in real estate? And if so, do you have any specific plans already in place?
Hmm. Yeah, I'm definitely going to continue investing in real estate. I think we're taught in school that you're going to work a 9 to 5 job for 40 hours a week until you're 60 something. And just after learning what I've learned, I don't think that that's the only way to go. Like for some people that's great, but there are so many other routes to go, and I think real estate's a great way to do it. So I'll be try to be quick on this, but there's a strategy that'll allow you to, if you can afford to do this, if you can buy one house a year for 15 years, you can retire in 15 years. You buy one house a year. This is something that I plan to do. Like I'm working on increasing my earned income now, so I can start paying, so I can afford this kind of stuff. And I'm saving money for my property so I can afford to buy the next one. Um, but 15 years. You buy one property every year, you put them on 15-year loans. So at the end of 15 years, that first property is paid off. Then
Mhm.
you can do something called a refinance, which allows you to keep the property, but you pull out the equity you have in it. And you can live off of that for a year or buy more investments or do whatever you want to do with it. And then the second year, I mean, the 16th year, you pull out, you refinance the second one, and you can just keep doing this. And then by the time year 30 comes around, the first property's paid off again because you've continued to have it rented out. And
Mhm.
you can literally pull out hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that'll be your salary for the year. But you're not working anymore. So that's a strategy I plan to implement. Um, Probably starting the next time I buy a property, and there are a couple other ones I want to do alongside that as well.
How did you even come up with this? That's amazing.
Uh, that's the funny thing. I didn't come up with any of this. That's what I love about real estate, because it's so tried and true. Like I'd be scared. Like what you're doing is very impressive to me, because you're just you have less people who've done it before. You're going out and trying to forge your own path. Hundreds, thousands of people have done what I'm trying to do. You just have to access the information and take the step. But yeah, any strategy I know, I've heard probably on Bigger Pockets. It's a great resource to learn, to learn about this kind of stuff.
I know that we briefly talked about this earlier, but I kind of want to dive a little deeper into it. Um,
Mm.
what do you think you've done really well with this first investment property so far?
I think I found a deal that got a really good return on my investment. Um, and I've managed it pretty well. I've been on top of it. I've learned a lot through the process. I think basically just taking the step is the scariest part, but I did a lot of research beforehand. So I definitely, like, that's part of the thing. When you're scared about something, you should do your research. So the more educated you are, the less scared you're going to be.
Mhm.
And it's just taking that step.
What do you think you should have done differently?
like I've said before, the thing I would do differently is definitely starting out with more earned income. But I didn't understand that till I'd already bought the deal. But it's really important before you start investing, you have to have some kind of backbone to support your investments, because you don't want to be relying on their cash too much. You want your investment to just, you just kind of want to leave that alone and let it build up your reserves. And yeah, so it's definitely important to get your earned income first.
So it sounds like you're definitely going to implement that reserve mentality for this next, well, these next 15 houses. When
Yeah,
do you plan on starting to buy the first house?
I'm thinking in 2 years. It's there the market is very expensive right now. Interest rates are really low, which is awesome, but it's COVID is going on. The stock market might be kind of up right now, but the economy is not. And I'm not an expert. I've heard so many different opinions on what's going to happen with the market, and people are still investing right now, and they're still making money. Like, people are still. I work for my real estate brokerage, capital equity real estate, and we have investors that are still flipping houses and they're still making money. But it's everything's bubbles are a thing. Prices are going up very fast right now, and that's when you should be nervous. When everyone gets excited and is buying things up. I think who's Berkshire Hathaway? Warren Buffett was the one who said, "Be fearful when others are not, and don't be fearful when they are."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. So I think 2 years there might be some kind of correction, and at that point, I'll build up a decent amount of capital to be able to capitalize on what might happen in the market.
Do you think that you're going to stay in the Orlando area for all 15 houses, or are you going to diversify your portfolio based off of, location?
That's a good question. A lot of investors will say it's good to have your investments within 30 minutes of you, but there are plenty of books about long distance real estate investing, and if you can find better deals elsewhere, you know go for it. If you can make a better investment, then yeah, you should do it. But it's just another thing. It's about educating yourself. So personally, I'd like to stay in Orlando. I think Orlando is a great spot for investment property. Like, I think Florida is great for all things real estate. It's a little too hot for me, but I think it's worth staying. I think it's worth staying here. I don't think anything Orlando's going anywhere.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you have the amusement parks, you have, the golf courses, it's UCF, which is continuing to grow. So
Blowing up. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it makes complete sense. Um, so what has been, besides the whole reserve aspect, what has been your biggest challenge or maybe largest takeaway that you've learned so far?
Mm. I've definitely learned a lot about managing tenants and managing, handling people. Tenant, tenants are you're just on two different. It kind of feels like you can be on two different sides of things,
Mhm.
and you just have to make sure you're meeting their needs properly.
Can you give me an example of when you needed to manage your tenants properly, or maybe something went wrong in the house?
I had a tenant, and he was very combative about everything. And it's a big house, so electricity can get used up pretty quickly. And the thing is, he was very consistent on rent. He was in the biggest room, so he paid the most rent. He was a great tenant in a lot of aspects, and he kept the house clean. But he was so combative about electricity consumption, and it was making things more expensive for everybody else.
Mm.
And when that happens, that can cause a problem to, like, your investment being cash flow positive. That's something you have to keep in mind. If you have one tenant who's he's awesome, he pays rent, but if he's bothering other people in the house, it's something you have to weigh in your mind. Is it worth keeping him around because he's so good as just one person? And that's something you have to weigh when you try to rent out to college students, like, multiple people who aren't from the same family.
Yeah.
Another one is cleanliness. That's another thing. If people don't keep the kitchen clean, if there's one person in particular not keeping the kitchen clean, even if they're great, kitchen is it's a big deal to students. It's one of the few areas everyone is consistently in.
Hmm.
And if it's not clean, that causes a problem. So you have, even if people are good tenants, there are a lot more factors that go into it than them just paying on time, because it
Okay.
can damage, other people wanting to stay in your house.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Um, so I think before we start closing out, do you have any advice or parting thoughts that you would like to share with anyone that might be looking to start investing in real estate?
I think now is a great, great, great time to start educating yourself and to start building capital and building credit. Those are three things I think are really important to have before you start anything. If anyone wants, anyone can reach out to me about any resources I've ever seen, and I would love to share it, to share what I've learned. But yeah, if you're not educated, you're probably going to get financially hurt. So I think it's important. There's a good, there could be some good opportunities coming up in the near future, and we've got a great window right now to start preparing to take advantage of those.
Well, I'm glad you brought up allowing people to reach out to you because that was my
Oh
last
yeah.
question. So, if anyone wants to reach out to you in regards to picking your brain from a realtor standpoint, right? Because you are a realtor now,
Yep.
or maybe they just want to talk to you more about house hacking, maybe some of the material that you've come across while doing your own research, how can they reach out to you? What platforms are you on?
I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and email. Just reach out to me any of those ways, and I'll respond pretty quickly.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Parker, for sharing your knowledge with us all. I know that you mentioned that you don't feel like the expert, but you're definitely more of an expert than I am. And
I'm getting there, and I'm sure you will too.
well, I know that a lot of people are going to find so much value in what you've shared today. So thank you so much. I hope you have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Yeah, same to you. Thank you.